Welcome back into the Saturday show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Christian Esparza and Alex Napoles. Thank you for tuning in, making us a part of your weekend. I think people are done back to school shopping, right? That was basically all last week. I think most people are starting up now.
Yeah, I think every district is a little bit different. I know that a lot of people started school this week.
Yeah.
So I don't know if what other districts have to start up, but I do know the high school football is back.
High school football.
Oh yeah, I was out at my first game last night. Incredible matchup between Davis and Corner Canyon, and so high school football is back, man. We're all very excited.
Yeah, my wife and I went shopping last week at a mall, and there were a lot of. It was a bad time to go shopping because we don't. Our kid's 4 months old. We're not doing back to school shopping,
right.
But
everybody else is doing.
Doing back to school shopping.
I worked retail a little bit back in the high school.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Back in the high school days, and so, while I was in school and whatnot, and so I remember how crazy.
Were you mean?
No, I don't think I was.
You weren't mean to people.
I don't think I was. Backtrack to that statement a little bit. If people were mean to me, I would bite back for sure.
Yeah.
But I think for the most part, I was nice.
Well, I never worked retail. I worked in restaurants.
Yeah.
So it's similar. I get it though.
Yeah,
I get it.
This time of year, man, it's crazy.
Hard to keep a smile on.
Yeah,
all the
it's
time.
It's crazy in retail. Everybody's going back. Everybody's going crazy because you don't have the right colored backpack or the backpack that they want.
And everybody thinks that they are the most important person ever.
That is a common theme in retail.
Yeah. I get that you've been waiting in line for 20 minutes, bro. So has everybody
else. Yeah. So, this is a message to everybody. Be nice. If you're still going back to school shopping, be nice to your service people.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay, let's talk about the stuff people want to hear. People don't care about back to school shopping. Sorry about that. Utah football. All
yes.
right. Let's get into college football. We mentioned, we've got the show this week, 2 more shows after that, and then we will get into our college football Saturday edition of the show that coincides with the start of the college football season. That's going to be a lot of fun. Spent a lot of time talking about BYU in the first hour. If you missed that, you can go find it wherever you get your podcast. But I want to talk Utah football this hour, specifically focusing on Utah's offense this segment, because we all know what they did last year, right? 3rd nationally rushing. They broke the school record for all-time rushing yards in a season. They were great. And this is an offense that typically doesn't score a lot of points. So it was kind of a crazy change-up to see. Frankly, they return all of the important pieces aside from, all 5 offensive linemen. But I'm talking about the guys that score the touchdowns
here. The skill positions, yeah.
The skill guys.
Yeah.
You're returning both quarterbacks and then Wayshawn Parker, the running back. So I want to talk about that offense and what to expect from them.
I love that the work and the changes that Jason Beck made to the offense last season, and really played to the strengths of Devin Dampier. And I don't, because of the conversations that you've heard about Kevin McGiven kind of keeping the same terminology and kind of having the same ideas, I don't anticipate that to change much. Plus, you also have Morgan Scalley, who has mentioned it a couple times now in his availabilities, about him wanting to put his stamp on the offensive side of the ball too, right? He was in control of the defensive side, but now he has a chance to impact both sides of the ball, and I think that you will see an impact from Morgan Scalley as well when it comes to the offensive side of the ball. Plus, you have... as you mentioned, right, you return basically all your skill guys from last season. I think the only really big one that isn't back is Ryan Davis, the senior wide receiver, who followed Jason Beck and Devin Dampier from New Mexico. But you replace that, I think, with the production of what you think Braden Pagan can be, and after his breakout last season with Utah State. And then, of course, Kyrie Scholes, who was another really fantastic wide receiver in the Mountain West that I don't think was talked about enough. Now he joins this offense as well. So you add those 2 guys to a room that already has Larry Simmons, who I really enjoyed last season, to Creed Whittemore, who I thought in his limited playing time came in and showed some really positive signs and really good promise. Plus some of the younger guys who still yet haven't had their opportunity to break through completely. And then what do we get from Tobias Merriweather, who ended up staying?
Oh, he did? I honestly didn't know
Yeah,
that.
he did. He did. I thought that was the guy who was going to jump into the portal, but still on the roster. He's back for another season. So again, you add 2 wide receivers who were incredible in the Mountain West last season to a wide receiver room who last year was good, had questions, but was got a job done. I'm excited to see how that plays out.
I'm excited to see Hunter Andrews back this year.
And that's somebody, totally forgot about.
Running back converted to tight end.
Was injured.
And last year he played, 2 or 3 games. He was injured in the Wyoming game. He left.
Yes.
Or
the Texas Tech game, one of the two.
One of the two. It was the Wyoming game, I think, that he came out. I remember this sequence. Utah came out at halftime, and the first 4 plays, I think, out of halftime in the second half were all Hunter Andrews plays, whether it was passes to him or rushing attempts. This is a guy that he's kind of a do-it-all sort of player. They're going to have him run the football. They're going to have him catch the football. He's named as a tight end, but he lined up at wide receiver. He lined up at tight end. He lined up at running back. A lot of questions to their RB2 situation right now behind Wayshawn Parker. I don't think Hunter Andrews is going to necessarily step up and be that RB2, but he's a guy that they can definitely lean on.
It's going to be Daniel Bray, man.
Yeah.
Can't forget about Daniel Bray.
Right, Daniel Bray. I mean, the point being there are a lot of returning faces.
Yep.
But to go along with the star talent, of course, Wayshawn Parker, he says he can hit 1,200 yards rushing. He says that's his goal. He was on the doorstep of 1,000 last year. To give you an idea, he had 149 carries, 981 yards, so that's 6.6 yards per. If that number gets bumped up to 200 carries, there's no reason he shouldn't be knocking on the doorstep at 1,200, right?
Absolutely. I think him and Daniel Bray this season are poised to continue. For Wayshawn Parker, I wouldn't necessarily call it a breakup because he already broke out last season, right?
Yeah.
But I would expect him to take a lot of the, even the workload like last season. I think he shared it a lot with Nakari Rogers. And if the eligibility stuff doesn't end up working out for Rogers, then it's going to be Wayshawn Parker's backfield. And I'll imagine to take him, have his workload that we saw last season, plus take on a lot of what Nakari Rogers was doing last season. Goal line, he was really great at the goal line. We'll see if Wayshawn Parker now steps up in those situations. But somebody who, again, I don't think a lot of people are talking about this offseason who I've heard really great things about is, of course, Daniel Bray, the true freshman last season. Had a little bit of a breakout, but I expect him to take even more steps now in his progression. Even though you have the turnover that you have on the offensive line.
Another explosive player, obviously, Byrd Ficklin coming back as the backup quarterback, but the rumor has it Michigan wanted him, and there's honestly no reason that he would stay at Utah unless they had a plan for him.
Absolutely.
So I'm excited to see what Kevin McGiven does and how he utilizes his backup quarterback. That's not a sentence you hear very often.
No.
But, I mean, you look at what Byrd did on the ground last year, 61 carries for 500 yards and 10 touchdowns. You think of that Colorado game, of course, 3 carries or 3 touchdowns of over 50 yards or whatever it was.
Yep.
Byrd talked to the media this week. Let's hear what he had to say.
Byrd, how was practice today?
It was amazing. Got a lot of work in. Really competitive between the offense and defense. That's really our goal to strive for throughout the fall camp is to be aggressive and to have aggressive practices. Y'all seen in the video, Coach Galley said it, physical. So that's what we're approaching right now with offense and defense.
Byrd, you talked a little bit last year that the system was new to you and a lot of just your development was adjusting to the speed. Year 2, where do you feel like your development's at, and what are some of the goals that you have this year?
I think my development is going really good, especially under Coach Gunny and McGiven. Helping my process of elimination, what I do need to look at and what I don't need to look at. Also reading the field progression. There's a lot of the big things that I have been needing to become a complete quarterback, read the progressions, and get the ball out quick.
Byrd, we talked about it a little bit in spring, but you're in a unique situation here where we're sure you're the backup quarterback, but there's going to be times where you're coming in. I guess, what can you offer the offense, this season?
A lot of explosiveness, a lot of explosive plays. even when I'm on or off the field. No matter what's going to happen, something exciting is going to be on the field. Every player is going to be exciting, a lot of speed, a lot of goals, everything.
Coach Scally says the D line is progressing nicely. What are your thoughts on the big men up front, their work ethic, and how hard they're getting after it?
They're working hard. They're literally the hogs up front. They took that challenge of this year. We lost all 5 last year. Coming into this year, they're all new starters, and they're working hard. They're putting the stress behind them, and they're showing us what they can do. I think we'll have no problems up front. Right now we have no problems, and I see that progressing throughout the season.
What's Coach Gunderson's coaching led to in your development as a quarterback? How has he helped you kind of develop as an ambassador?
He's helped me a lot. He's letting me see things that I've never seen, whether that be from reading the progressions, like I said, but he's also allowing me to still be a quarterback, still be a playmaker, have fun. He's not taking my game away from me, but just in the film room, he's helping me look at things I've never looked at, and to translate it onto the field has helped me a lot.
What do you like about how you fit into McGiven's offense?
I love it. It's literally everything I could dream about. It's a go-go offense. Everybody's flying everywhere. You never know what's going to happen. It's a lot of movement. Everything from up front to the backfield, it's a lot of movement. So I think it'll be a lot of fun this year.
Morgan talked a little bit about just your decision to say represented a lot about your character and just also your want to develop more as a player. Walk us through that decision. Why did you choose to come back to Utah when you probably could have started elsewhere at other programs? What was the big decision factor for you?
I'm thinking more of the future. Here I could be developed by Gundy and McGiven, but also our family aspect. You can't just ditch your own family. That's how I see it. And these guys have took me under, from coaches to players to even the staff. It's just been an all-out family, and I know I couldn't just leave them.
There you go. That is Utah backup quarterback Byrd Ficklin.
Yes, sir.
You think he's going to throw the ball very much this year?
I would imagine so. Even if it's the little trickeration that Utah tried last season, that I thought, for the most part worked pretty well. I would imagine him to come out and throw in those situations. I think more so too when you look at Byrd Ficklin, I imagine something to the sense of Nate Johnson, who of course is still on the roster as well, and can come in and they had him listed as an athlete, and kind of take on a similar role to that, where he can come in and line up with a wide receiver. He can even come in and line up and sub out Devin Dampier to come in for a throw or two, and trying to use him to trick defenses.
Man, they had 3 players with double-digit rushing touchdowns last year.
Let me guess.
Okay.
Wayshawn Parker.
No. He only
Devin-
had 6.
Oh, okay. Devin Dampier.
Okay.
Byrd Ficklin.
Yep.
And Rodgers?
Yeah.
Okay.
The quarterbacks had 10 apiece. Rodgers had 11 touchdowns. So the point being, there's a lot of potency on this rushing offense that I can't wait.
A lot of dual threats.
Yeah, a lot of players that can do a lot of different things.
Absolutely.
But earlier we mentioned the offensive line and how key that was to their success last season. They lose all 5 starters, 2 first-round picks, and then everybody else kind of graduates. We'll see if they can do things in the NFL. But regardless, not eligible for Utah anymore. So what does that look like? Because you kind of mentioned it with BYU last hour, right? Returning experience along the offensive line makes it easier on everybody in the skill groups. It's the exact opposite situation for the Utes. They're returning a lot of firepower in the skill positions, entirely new offensive line. So let's hear from the new offensive line coach, Jordan Gross. He spoke to the media. Here's what he had to say.
Jordan, how comfortable are you feeling now as a coach, now that you've had spring? I know it's still a lot to go, but how comfortable are you feeling right now?
Yeah, feeling very settled into the role. Just the people, the offense, the way Coach Scally wants things done. Definitely excited and anxious for focusing right now on training camp and making sure I'm as prepared as I can be and giving these players everything they need to succeed. Supporting the vision that Coach Scally's got in place for this thing, and then, anxiously anticipating the first game at Rice Eccles. I've been in that stadium a ton of times, but never in this role, so that'll be a new experience. I just got to go jump in and get my feet wet with that, but so far so good.
Coach, who are some of the players from the last time you saw them in the spring to now the start of fall camp who have made the biggest growth in their game, would you say?
Cedric Jefferson's had a really great summer and off season from that springtime to now. He wasn't on this roster last season, came in from Montana State and put on a lot of great weight and just a grinder every day. He's done a fantastic job. Ike Garcia also started spring ball not able to participate, coming back from his injury from last season. And by the end of spring ball, he was looking great, and now that's just continued on into camp. Our veteran guys, Al Harrison, his name comes up a lot. It's just so exciting to see him in this role with the opportunity to be a starting center, and he's waited a really long time for that. And give him a lot of flack about how old he is, but that experience at the same time is so dang valuable, and he's just been rock solid for us. I mean, honestly, I could go down the list. Obot is as advertised, and he's just put on the weight that's needed to put himself in contention for a lot of reps this season as well. So really, really proud of the work those guys have done, and hats off to Coach Saunders and his staff with the weight room. Productivity this summer was really above and beyond anything I would have expected to have had happen in that short amount of time.
To build off of that, the summer workouts, there's been a lot of talk of that this week, how players benefited from that. What do you, as the offensive line coach, what can you take away in the first week of fall camp? Obviously, the next step is putting on the pads and all that, and seeing the benefits there.
Most every player put on weight this summer, and we want everybody as big as humanly possible to still be able to move and play your position. And so what was nice about witnessing the summer program was with those big guys were moving constantly, dynamically, and doing cardio stuff, pushing things. So it's not as if the goal was just to sit around and eat a bunch of steaks and get as big as we can. Now, that being said, anytime you put weight on, so Zaraway Williams is a great example. Zaraway, one point this summer, was up to 331. And, that's at a body fat percentage under 26, which is just incredible. But that's still more weight than he played at last season. So what I've witnessed early in camp was that the guys got to get used to that added weight, even though it's muscular density and the body composition information says, man, this is the right thing that we've done with this weight gain. That just takes a little time to get used to moving around an extra 10 or 15 pounds. And that's the way camp always is, especially for the big guys on both sides of the ball. You start running around and pushing on each other. That cardio that you did in the summer just isn't the same. And so day 2 is a lot better than day 1, and now I expect the rest of this week to just continue to climb.
Assuming the starting 5 isn't necessarily locked in, maybe not even your first few weeks of the season, how many offensive linemen do you feel are comfortable kicking off Big 12 football today? Yeah, great question. It's just been such a cool experience watching these guys embrace this opportunity to contribute, where for the last few seasons there was just some pretty solidified starters on that O-line. And so, I would say that I feel that there's 10 guys that we could take into a game and we could play football with. And that number could grow or shrink depending on what we see the rest of the way through camp. Doesn't mean that everybody's the same level of player and each one of those guys are the exact same, but they've really done an incredible job of buying into what we're doing and getting themselves to be able to compete. And that's what you want as a position coach, is to have competition and guys pushing themselves in our own room so nobody's comfortable. And when they're hungry like that, I'm not comfortable, because I know they have a mission that they're on individually and as a unit. So I have to be ready with all the information they need, all the meeting time they need, all the film study they need, all the tips and all the individual technique drills we can do, so that I'm giving them every chance to seize the opportunities they have.
Is there a certain point in fall camp where you want to establish a starting 5 so they can start getting chemistry with each other going into the season?
I wouldn't say we have a date in mind. Coach Scally runs the show, so I would lean on him a little bit to determine if there was a hard line in the sand we had to arrive at. My position group is the biggest on the field.
So it's rare that you have everybody fully healthy, fully available every day at practice. So we could start a starting 5 right now. I would guess that Keith Olson would be on that list, but he's not practicing because he's got a sore hamstring right now. So O-line is always a work in progress and always fluidity to it. And starter mentality is what we talk about more in our room than being a starter because, perfect example, yesterday in a drill, we're doing, Nick Halleck, who's a really bright future here as a young guy for us, but he's further down the depth chart. Guys are, whatever happens in the drill, all of a sudden, I need a guard. Nick, get in there. And Nick's running with 2-minute drill with, the second group, whereas that wasn't where he was at to start the day. So that creates a pretty battle-tested mentality for our guys. And, man, I would sure embrace that way of thinking.
Last one with that. You talked about potentially having 10 guys that you could, if there was a game tomorrow, you could go and fall with. When you've got that many guys that are fighting for a starting job, what needs to happen for the communication and that cohesion that needs to develop over the course of time for a really solid unit as opposed to the individual players?
Yeah, that's a great question. I firmly believe in honest communication with the players. When we exited spring ball, we did one-on-ones, Coach Gerke and I directly telling everybody where you ended up on the depth chart, what we see you need to work on, and what you're good at. And some of those things aren't really easy to tell young kids, but that information is critical for them to know where they stand. And so then we did the same thing coming out of summer before we started camp. Here's what you can expect rep-wise. Here's where you're at. And really just not making it the elephant in the room, right? Open conversation about that we are in competition, that we're all one team, that you got to have a starter mentality. And you've got to show love to everybody, treat everybody the same, be the same fairness, and hold yourself accountable. We're in meetings. We have meetings this morning. I put a diagram up on the film or up on the board, and there's mistakes on there. Man, guys, I screwed that up. That is not good. I got to do better than that. If you guys see something, say something. And so we all know that the ego is kept at the door when we come to that O-line room. And, man, you might not be selected as the starter, but your value is great in our O-line room and on our team.
There you go. That is Utah offensive line coach Jordan Gross talking about taking over this job, obviously filling in for some big shoes. Jim Harding following Kyle Whittingham over to Michigan. Harding did a phenomenal job with this Utah offensive line during his time here and, his final season that did end with 2 guys getting drafted in the first round of the NFL draft. But none of the 5 starters are returning. Alex, how confident are you in Jordan Gross and his ability to, I guess, put out a average level offensive line for the Utes? That's all they need, right?
Yeah, that's all you need. It's not going to be easy shoes to fill, obviously, right? Jim Harding is, and Jim Harding and the relationship he had with Kyle Whittingham was a big factor, I think, into getting Utah to where it is, as far as being able to pump out NFL level offensive linemen, recruiting those NFL offensive linemen to the University of Utah, right? Also, played a massive part in all that. So those aren't easy shoes to fill by any means, especially from a coach who's coming from the high school level. But he does have some really great offensive minds around him that I think can help him get to that level where he needs to be. Plus, he's also done pretty well as far as kind of replacing some of the guys who have already left. You look at the recruitment of Kelvin Obot, and everybody's really, really excited for his future and what he looks like.
5-star freshman.
Yes. Plus, I think you have a lot of leftover from Jim Harding, the Jim Harding era, as far as guys like Isaiah Garcia, guys like Alex Harrison, some of the guys who are expected to now start. Those are all guys who were recruited and have worked really well under and have developed well under Jim Harding. Those are all left over, and so I don't know. It's not going to be anywhere near the level it was under, last season, right, where you have 2 NFL first-round picks. But I don't think it's going to drop off as much as people believe it will drop off. And I think that will give Jordan Gross a lot of confidence to fill in the role and to fill in the shoes of Jim Harding.
We will see because, again, that is going to be key. You need your offensive line to open holes for your running backs or keep your quarterback upright. And if that line fails, then none of this matters for
That's true.
Utah's
Yeah,
offense.
true.
So we will see. Coming up next, let's hear from the new defensive coordinator. Colton Swan spoke to the media, so stick with us. We'll hear from him on the other side. It's the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome back into the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Christian Esparza, Alex Napoles. Normally we spend some time here to do 5 minutes of, but we've got a lot of sound coming out. So let's jump right into it and then react. I want to hear what Colton Swan has to say. Utah defensive coordinator, of course, taking over from Morgan Scalley after he's the new head coach. So here you go. Jumping right in, this is Colton Swan.
Morgan was talking about how he's maybe not, I guess, looking over your shoulder, and you have, the freedom to put your own spin on the defense. While it's still going to be a kind of Scalley Utah defense. What are kind of the spins that you've put on it so far?
Well, without getting into exact details, each coordinator has our own ways of doing things and liking things. There's different coverages and run fits that we apply and the way that we like things. So without, like I said, giving you too much in detail, we all we're doing some pretty cool stuff, and I think our guys are really buying into what we got going. This defense has been in place for a long time here at the University of Utah and has been very good. So you got to keep that in the back of your mind as a coordinator is if it's working and it is providing very good production and it's not broken, then don't try to fix something that's not broken. So as a coordinator, you got to be smart with that, but at the same time, you want to have your own spin on things and really looking for ways to improve things where things maybe broke down in the past.
You've got a lot of talent on the defensive side, but there's a lot of competitions in many position groups. As a defensive coordinator, how are you balancing trying to get guys there as fast as you can so that you can get those set versus just trying to make sure that you do it right and trying to get the right guys in the right spot?
Yeah, you got to be creative as a coordinator for sure, because you can have a plethora of guys in different positions that can all play, and getting your best 11 out there is definitely something that you're always constantly thinking of, because it is all about the players. It's all about them over scheme, and so you got to be creative, find different ways to utilize that, and to constantly be massaging your personnel. But I do know this so far in camp. Through 2 practices, it's been extremely competitive with those that you're mentioning and how talented we are on the defensive side, which is a good thing. It makes it harder on us as coaches figuring out which ones are going to play, but we definitely got a good problem going on.
I'm going to ask you something not related to football. You
talked
a little bit about just cattle wrestling. I think it's cattle wrestling.
Steer wrestling or bulldogging, yeah.
You've lost a couple of teeth doing that.
Yeah.
Walk me through the background of how you got into that, and how often are you going back to Idaho to do some steer wrestling?
Let's see, I went back 4 times, but actually the 4 times that I went back this summer in the month of July, I took my kids, all right? So I can show you a pretty cool picture. Let me show you my daughter here. I'll show you my daughter on this picture right here. And this is what we do as kind of our entertainment in Idaho. Okay, this is her. Okay, on riding a sheep, right? She's 5 years old and she gets what we call scorpioned, right? So she's getting bent over backwards right there, and that's me in the background, kind of yelling at her or encouraging her, right, as if you will. So that's kind of how I got into it, doing stuff like that. Just kind of grew up in that world. We were large cattle ranchers in Idaho, and my grandpa actually, who was a quarterback here at the University of Utah, he was an All-American, and he played here right before World War II, okay, and he was drafted by the Chicago Bears. His name's actually out in the trophy room, believe it or not. Not a lot of people knew that about me and the University of Utah, but he played here, and my uncle played here as well. But Grandpa was drafted by the Bears and went on to get drafted by the Navy and served in World War II. So he graduated from University of Utah with a law degree, and he came back from war, and my grandma thought that they were going to live the good life, the country club life, being lawyers and all that good stuff, and Grandpa bought a ranch. And so they went on to be ranchers and moved to Idaho, and it's all been cowboying and football ever since. So, yeah, my dad played at Utah State. Like I said, my grandpa and my uncle played here at University of Utah. My brother played at Utah State. My other brother played at Boise State. And so it's football and cowboying. And we just grew up that way, and it's kind of a way of life. You don't ever move away from it. It's awesome. I actually think it teaches you a lot about toughness and endurance and just the way that life really is, the hard way, and not cowering down to stuff that adversity that can become difficult. So.
There you go. That is new Utah defensive coordinator Colton Swan. What are your thoughts?
I think, him having that, kind of the conversations that you've heard with BYU and Kelly Poppinga, right, and him taking over as defensive coordinator. I feel the similar way that I feel about Kelly Poppinga than I do to Colton Swan, because Swan, obviously, as a linebacker coach, worked really closely with Morgan Scalley, understands the Witt defense, understands the Scalley defense, and I think that I don't know, and I don't think that there will be many differences defensively on Utah or from Utah. Even with Colton Swan as defensive coordinator, because of the time that he's already spent with the program and the time that he's already had working under Morgan Scalley.
Yeah, you're not asking him to come in and reinvent the wheel. Now, he is going to have authority to come in and do things his way. Morgan's not expecting him to come in and be a carbon copy of Morgan Scalley,
right.
But you hire him, you make that hire because he understands the job.
Mm-hmm.
He understands the defense. He understands the expectation. And he also understands, he's a great defensive mind. That's why he's made it this far. So I am excited to see maybe what sort of flair he puts on.
Yes, I think too for Utah defensively, right? It's not about the questions for me. Isn't about Colton Swan and what his stamp on the defense and Utah's defense will look like. I think it's more so going to be, and even like just the broader look of Utah football. It's not the offensive line I'm concerned about. It's honestly the defensive line that I'm concerned about.
Yeah.
I think Utah, we talked about it last segment, right, and the carryover that you still have from a lot of the guys who were recruited and developed from Jim Harding. On the defensive line, you lost a lot of players, I think, after that 5-win season, right, to the transfer portal. And you had a lot of young, inexperienced guys last year on that defensive line. And, even the guys with experience have now moved on. So you look at that defensive line, and there's transfers coming in, but they're all soft. There's a lot of sophomores, a lot of juniors, a lot of inexperience on the defensive line. And I think more so when it comes to Utah football, for me, the biggest question is the defensive line. You remember how it ended last season for Utah, right, with the rushing and how, how much they struggled at stopping the run. And so that is going to be, I think, for me, the biggest question and the biggest key to Utah's success this season is how do you quickly go from having a really young, inexperienced defensive line to having the Utah defensive lines of old, where it's Sack Lake City. It's one of the best defensive lines in the conference, right? How do you get to that point? And that's going to be the biggest question for me, I think, defensively for Utah.
Wrapping up the show next, stick with us. It's the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Wrapping up another edition of the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Christian Esparza, Alex Napoles, thank you for tuning in, making us a part of your Saturday. Alex, there were a lot of things we didn't get to this week that I, obviously can't wait to talk about next week. The Jazz schedule has been revealed.
Yes, sir.
Basketball is right around the corner, and I'm getting really excited for it. It's not something that we've been able to say locally the last few years, so that's fun. NFL preseason is fully underway. I know there's a big divide on who actually cares about it, but I do.
Yeah, I do too.
I'll watch it if it's a good game.
I'm right there with you, man.
Thank you. In solidarity.
I'm right there with you.
But it's nevertheless, it's things are finally starting to heat up.
Yes, it's that time of year, man. You turn the corner from everything, all the off-season speculation, all the off-season topics, and now you can actually focus in on on games happening, right? Let's not forget the Mammoth, too, in the NHL schedule. That was already released, right? But you have the Mammoth, who coincides with the NBA season. Then you have college football, of course, at the forefront here coming up in a couple weeks.
Here's what the schedule looks like for the rest of the day on the KSL Sports Zone. Real Salt Lake taking on Minnesota. That is a 7:30 first kick. 6:30 pregame. You can catch that on 97.5. And then on the 1280 side, you're going to have the Salt Lake Bees at El Paso. That is a 6:20 pregame as well. And for tomorrow, you're looking at the Salt Lake Bees again wrapping up that series at El Paso. Midday game there. That is an 11:50 start for the Bees. So a lot of fun as always. Thank you for Alex next to me. Thanks to Sean producing behind the glass. We'll catch you next week. It's the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.